first and his lead jammer for Texas.
And Texas has been flying up the MRDA rankings ever since they formed. It's actually a couple of different teams in Texas joined forces to become the current Texas team that you're seeing. And they've just been flying up the rankings, surprising everyone. A couple of quick points. Make sure that we are no longer at a deadlock of 2. Texas, a 2-0 lead. I'm going to run through the Texas roster real quick. 00, just Matt. 151, the Enabler. 1775, G.I. Joel. 18, Uncle Jesse McNasty. Number 32, Kyle Divers. Number 5, Tip. 50, Mr. Taco. 68, Diamond. 8455, Himkeys. 8, Lucky Charmer. 9, Rhino. 96, Rydell. And 986, Dr. Feelgood.
That is Dr. Feelgood jamming for Texas against number 100 and lead jammer now Scott Slamilton. The Doctor's still having some trouble in the pack right now as they moving fairly quickly. Not really a stopped pack holding him back, and a nice move down to one knee. Nearly evaded the blocking crew, and no pass, no penalty called.
Dylan Botts pushing him to the outside. Scott Slamilton calling off the jam. Looks like 4 points picked up by Puget. Next score 4-2.
Here are the Puget Sound Outcasts for the Puget Sound Outcasts in blue with the yellow and black stripes down the side. Number 000, Sweet Pea. Number 100, Scott Slamilton. Number 11 is Thunderstruck. Number 13, Guerrero. 14 is Rod. 23, Quadzilla LK. 2468, Dylan Botts. 247, Hollywood. 24K, Nugget. Number 33, Arsenic. 55, Corporal Punishment. 56, Michael Jensen. 77, here's Johnny. And number 8, Hunter.
Your jammers are the Enabler and number 55, Corporal Punishment. So far, Corporal Punishment grabbing lead jammer status for Puget. Texas and the Enabler fighting through as well out in the open. And Corporal Punishment calling off the jam. 4 more points grabbed by the boys in blue. Puget's taking themselves to an early 8-2 lead. 27 minutes left on the clock in the first half.
Seems to be as it usually is. Both teams trying to establish themselves. And the Outlaws got off to the good start. We're only able to get 2 points on the first jam, and since then Puget Sound has had the advantage over the last couple of goes around.
Well, it's a little bit of the feeling out process, too, as each team is trying to figure out exactly who the other team is. Scott Slamilton back on the track, and he is lead jammer for Puget. Number 8 in white is the opposing jammer. That is Lucky Charmer. Lucky Charmer
Scott Slamilton really having an easy time of it. He went outside twice on his last couple of scoring passes, and he found a lane that was probably about as wide as 2 of him. Helps that he's a low jammer, very quick, but the defense was occupied. His team was occupied with defense, so he had a pretty easy time of it.
He picked up 12 in that jam. Lucky Charmer did get another 2 to double Texas' score, but you said there was a big gap on the outside. They do grow everything bigger in Texas.
Well, they want to close those. They want to get those gaps a little bit smaller if they want to keep this game close early. This is Dr. Feelgood's second jam for the Outlaws. Likewise, the second jam for Quadzilla. Actually, the third jam for Quadzilla.
Out of play penalty being assessed to Diamond from the Texas Outlaws, but Dr. Feelgood, he's the one they call lead jammer.
Now the Outlaws going to try and pick up some of those points. Dr. Feelgood goes right at Hollywood, knocks him back a couple of feet and grabs the 4. This is going to be a very physical game, obviously, as you usually see from MRDA, but this one seems a little bit more physical than most. Puget Sound, the established team, the Outlaws, kind of the up-and-comers, upstarts, as you said.
Yeah, it looks like Michael Jensen a little bit heated, needed to be calmed down by his teammates on the side.
Wasn't quite sure about what.
Not quite sure exactly what happened there, but Quadzilla also needed to be calmed down. Number 55, for Puget. Corporal Punishment grabbing lead jammer, stealing it away from number 151, the enabler.
And that's 4 points for Puget Sound. So both teams getting 4 points over the last couple of jams as they traded that all-important lead jammer spot. Still, though, Puget Sound with the 24-8 lead.
That quick hit it and quit it philosophy, the bread and butter of roller derby. If you can keep doing that all game long, you're usually going to come out ahead. You don't need a big jam, you just need enough small jams. Puget right now, of course, being helped by the fact they do have a 12-point jam. They're the only team that's had multiple scoring passes. It's only happened once so far.
Lucky Charmer looking for purchase. Almost, and he did. He found it on the inside. Good job to stay in bounds against Michael Jensen. And now, look, I believe that's Scott Slamilton going to the penalty box for a multiplayer block.
As they're going to make this a Sakatumi power jam for Lucky Charmer. And 8 white dodging a hit from 24K blue, completing a 5-point scoring pass.
That's a regular grand slam for Lucky Charmer as he re-engages the pack, looks to get past Quadzilla. Help from Hollywood there, but he stays in bounds. You can tell already that number 8 in white has a lot of dedication and determination on the track. He stays in bounds. It's hard to knock him out, as he shows there, grabbing another Rydell Skates grand slam.
Lucky Charmer coming around again. You see the Scott Slamilton's rejoined the fray. Bounces off, gets bumped to the outside by number 18.
There's another 4 points on the board for Lucky Charmer. So, just as you said, only Puget Sound had multiple scoring passes during a jam. The Outlaws say, well, we can do that as well. And that's 14 points registered by Lucky Charmer. And so we got a 2-point game.
And I was going to say, just like that, we've got a score 24-22 with 22 minutes left to go.
It'll be a test to see if this will stick around this close the entire game. That power jam obviously helped as Dr. Feelgood goes on against the line for the Outlaws against Corporal Punishment once again.
There's a back block call being assessed to Dr. Feelgood. That is going to create an opportunity for number 55, Corporal Punishment. Corporal Punishment still trying to fight his way through. Quickly declared lead jammer and calling it off right away. Didn't want to take any risks. They want to reset and send Scott Slamilton out in a power jam situation, but that's going to have to wait a little bit. Looks like we've got an official review being undertaken. Texas asking for an official review. Might be on that penalty assessed to their jammer.
Don't doubt it. That was a very close play. I was actually looking to see if there would be a cut called, and then I saw the motion for a back block. Texas wants to try and keep this close, and they know how good of a jammer Scott Slamilton is. So they want to try and get their jammer on the track, if at all possible. Want to thank everybody as well for tuning in to the 6th annual Brouhaha here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2015. Always want to thank Hinckley Productions and Design for streaming our tournament here. Hope you're tuning in, and if not, check in with us tomorrow or Sunday all day for all of your roller derby needs here at Brouhaha 2015.
And while you got this in the stream window, open up one of your extra tabs.
Just one.
Go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to Instagram. Use the hashtag Brouhaha2015. Share your viewing party with us. Send love to your favorite skater. Let's see if we can get pictures of cats in roller derby gear trending in Japan. All using the hashtag Brouhaha2015.
I feel like that's already a popular thing in Japan somehow.
Because it's Japan.
Exactly.
Let's see if we can get this tournament trending worldwide. We need your help. Just send your tweets, your Facebook to Brouhaha2015. Let your friends know that if they're not watching, they're missing the best derby action they could possibly be seeing. It's a full weekend. We've run in the gamut. We've got teams like Puget Sound and the St. Louis Gatekeepers in Texas, top of the men's leagues. We've got Gotham and Minnesota and arch rival, top of the women's leagues. We've got a juniors game coming up. And we've got a team in the Cleveland Guardians played their second ever game earlier today. We are running the gamut on Derby. Scott Slamilton running the gamut against the Texas Outlaws. He's already picked up lead jammer, and he's got a couple of points trying to complete the scoring pass, complete a grand slam, but not able to do so quite yet. Good stiff defense by the Outlaws.
And that's surprising. Scott Slamilton made an excellent pirouette move. He stayed inbounds on 1 foot skating backwards earlier. He has the brains and the guts of a cat burglar with excellent reflexes, but he's having a devil of a time versus the Outlaws right now.
That outlaw defense, G.I. Joel, Tip, Diamond, and Rydell, really causing Scott Slamilton to have a little bit of a headache trying to fight through the pack. Good pirouette and good balance. Got around Diamond, stayed on the track. Dr. Philgood out of the penalty box and back on the track. Scott Slamilton assessed a track cut penalty. It's going to be a full 2-minute jam, but a very short-lived power jam for Texas. A low block call going against Dr. Feelgood.
Couple of tough plays right there. Hamilton cut the track just barely on the outside coming around the final turn, and then Dr. Feelgood couldn't tell if he was trying to stop, but he lost his footing either way and went low into a blue player. So that's an easy low block call for the referee. And that's after some great defense by the Outlaws. He's really working that quick spin move trying to get past on the defense.
Whereas Slamilton counter-blocking against G.I. Joel. Joel goes down, but more importantly, Slamilton pushed to the outfield, forced to recycle back deep once again. We're seeing good recycling. Dr. Feelgood getting just up in front as the jam expires. Does a couple of push-ups for the crowd here in attendance. 4 points gathered by Texas. Looks like 5 for Puget.
You can kind of tell Dr. Feelgood, he has not to cross sports too much, but he hesitates. He has a nice little hesitation move that you might see in basketball with crafty guards, but he tries to slow himself down, kind of lull the defender to sleep, and then quick move. It's effective, but it can also draw penalties. Let's see how he plays out over the full game.
It's almost a little bit of a stutter step that he's trying to do.
Exactly.
Taking off from the notorious RED jam line, we've got the Enabler jamming against Hollywood.
Pretty good juxtaposition there. The Enabler gets lead jammer. Note on that last jam, that started in a power jam for Puget Sound, but the Outlaws were able to defend without giving up any points. They killed the penalty entirely.
Now Scott Slamilton only grabbing 5 points overall with 2 power jams. So very impressive defense. And 4 points gathered by Texas, if my math is correct. And I don't trust my own math. I'm looking at the scoreboard. 30-29, Texas snagging that lead from Puget. Was once a 14-point lead for Puget. Erased. Texas now up by 1.
And that's big. That is definitely big here early on. It was a 24-8 game, and so that has been a 22-5 run over the last few jams for the Outlaws. And now Lucky Charmer, who has been the high scorer for Texas, back on the line against corporal punishment. Quick pack is everything going this way and that, and Lucky Charmer goes that way into the lead jammer spot. Corporal punishment still trying to make his way through the pack, bothered by G.I. Joel.
Yeah, Lucky Charmer very good with lateral motion, going east and west to find an opening before going north-south. Corporal punishment just kind of putting his head down and saying, I'm going to make a hole here. That jam expires. Another 3 points picked up by Texas.
Those are basically the two main jamming styles that we've come to. Either make your own hole or find the holes as they come.
All right, we're going to set up the notorious RAD jammer line with Scott Slamilton jamming against Dr. Feelgood.
Both jammers looking inside first now. Dr. Feelgood tried to rotate, was not able to stay in bounds. He is knocked out on the outside. So the pack is stretched out. Scott Slamilton working up front against Kyle Divers. He is forced out on the inside, and Dr. Feelgood is lead jammer.
Now this has been big, 3 in a row now that Texas has snagged lead jammer status. It was 3 in a row earlier for Puget that allowed them to establish the initial lead. And Dr. Feelgood grabs 4 points. He's going to let a little bit of the clock run down, doing some time management strategy already. Might be a little too early to do that, though. They're only up by 8, and killing any extra seconds now in the first half, especially in the first quarter, could come back to bite them when we get into the second half. But we got a score of 29-37, just under 16 minutes left in the first half.
I was surprised by that. I thought he looked to call it, and he was very close to the jammer. He was very close to that 5th point, and I thought he hesitated to call it so he could get that 5th point, but he let the jammer just kind of go and then call the jam. Now back with Quadzilla and the enabler. Quadzilla had a hole on the outside. Oh, he looked to get in ahead of the pivot, number 5, TIP, and he's called for cutting the track, so once again a power jam for the Outlaws and the enabler.
Quadzilla looking directly at box kick Murphy, and he's like, no, there was a no pass, no penalty situation, which he was correct on a previous skater. But box kick Murphy stands her ground and says, you're going to go spend some time in the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino penalty box. You cut the track. You know what you did. That makes this a power jam for Texas. Chance for them to open up a little bit of a lead of their own.
The enabler really fighting, literally fighting his way through the blocking. Got some words being thrown on the tracks right now, and thank goodness I cannot read lips.
And the enabler pushed to the infield by Michael Jensen. And Quadzilla stepping back to play a little defense, help out his teammates.
Bit of the strategy my former team called you can jam if you want to. Which is funny because you're not leaving your friends behind. Now Quadzilla baiting the defense there and still going to play defense up top.
And this is an interesting, it seemed like Quadzilla actually for a while had forgotten what cap he was wearing. He was stepping more into a pivot position. Especially, he'd sprung free and the enabler had been pushed to the infield, and yet Quadzilla didn't take off. He then retreated back, putting himself behind the Texas wall again.
I was wondering if he was employing a strategy that would have been kind of concurrent to what we saw from Dr. Feelgood. Either way, Texas is up 46-29 here. Just a little bit over half of the first period to go. And it looks like as 23 comes back to the bench, I believe that's exactly what happened. I think he forgot that he had on the star cap instead of the stripe.
Now we're taking a timeout. It's a Puget timeout as Texas has opened up the largest lead they've had of the game, and if I'm not mistaken, the largest lead of the game overall. 46-29, 13:25 left to go. And of course, we mentioned Hinckley Productions. We also couldn't be doing this without Field 59. The Field 59 video platform powered the live streaming technology behind the 2014 Roller Derby World Cup in Dallas, and now powers the live stream for the 2015 Midwest Brouhaha. Power jam your derby bouts with Field 59's video solutions.
Also want to thank Orthopedic Institute of Wisconsin. Dr. Eric Peifel of the Orthopedic Institute of Wisconsin and MOSH wishes you a safe Brouhaha weekend. We are here for all your injuries on and off the track. Contact us at theorthoinstitute.com. Coming back to action momentarily, 3 blockers on the track for Puget Sound, and Scott Slamilton, I believe, is in the penalty. No, registered that just incorrectly. I was looking to see if he was in the penalty box. He is not. Corporal punishment will be jamming against Lucky Charmer. Puget Sound, after that timeout, trying to make some headway and cut down this deficit.
Nugget currently in the penalty box for Puget Sound. They're down a 4-3 pack disadvantage, but Nugget standing, his time is almost elapsed, and he's going to come in and try and create some havoc, trying to spring corporal punishment free. Both jammers pushed to the inside, and Hollywood 24-7 going into the penalty box on a back block call.
Lucky Charmer gets free, could not be forced to the infield by Thunderstruck. Meanwhile, Corporal Punishment finally squeezes his way past Kyle Divers. Charmer goes in, then looked out, caught a bit of a rub from Thunderstruck, is slowed up at the top of the pack, makes his way through, and gets 4 points. Meanwhile, Corporal Punishment, not to be outdone, finds his way through the fray, and he has 4 points of his own. So both jammers cancel each other out on those respective runs.
Yeah, Lucky Charmer coming around again. You could almost call that an apex hop. It was more that he used the Puget bodies to keep himself from going off the track. Another 4-point scoring pass. And we're seeing Corporal Punishment trying to weed his way through. Lucky Charmer, however, just barely pushed out by Thunderstruck.
Corporal Punishment looking for some help and gets it. But Lucky Charmer, who was recycled back, comes back through fairly quickly, and he grabs the natural. Rydell Skates grand slam. Now Corporal Punishment going to employ the you can jam if you want to, and a huge hit from Hollywood takes Lucky Charmer off his feet. He gets up and smiles just for a second and calls off the jam. Tallies 3 more points. So the Outlaws really making this their game after Puget Sound had the early advantage.
A big 16-point jam for Lucky Charmer. And they're going to send out Dr. Feelgood to the notorious RED jam line. Guess what? He's starting out in a power jam situation, a late track cut call against Corporal Punishment. That's going to keep Puget from having a jammer to start this jam.
That's definitely something they can ill afford, as the last few jams have shown. They've had trouble defending. Action forced outside, but Puget able to stand their ground and hold things down. Dr. Feelgood once again with that stutter step and hesitation move. He's like Gumby out there. His legs just go one way and the rest of his body goes the other. And that's lead jammer for Dr. Feelgood. Almost, it looked like he tried to hold on to a blocker to keep himself in bounds. Quadzilla trying to draw the track cut, cannot do so.
That was one of those, if there was a photo finish, the result might have been different. From my perspective, it looked like he'd drawn it correctly. The officials clearly seeing, they've got a different angle on everything, and what they saw was Dr. Feelgood coming in cleanly. Smart play either way by Quadzilla to try and draw it. We've got 5 points on that pass. Dr. Feelgood already gathering up 9.
He had been the low jammer for the Outlaws previously. As Quadzilla going to the box for cutting the track, but Dr. Feelgood forced to recycle in behind Michael Jensen. Looks for that hesitation again, knocked out, but Michael Jensen knocked down.
And a multiplayer block penalty being assessed to Diamond. Also a track cut penalty being assessed to Corporal Punishment. Corporal Punishment, he's 2 jams in a row now. He's picked up track cut penalties.
Got to keep your jammer on the track to score. There's another grand slam for Dr. Feelgood. Both teams with 3 blockers. Dr. Feelgood breaks through that triangle very easily.
Dr. Feelgood so focused on calling off the jam as he's going down. Luckily for him, he didn't land on his face too hard. He was already pretty low to the ground, but his hips were back and his arms were back so far. He actually threw himself face first into the surface here at UWM Panther Arena here in beautiful Milwaukee.
He took a hip. He took a flank hit from Nugget and didn't put his hands down. But once again, starting off in a power jam are the Outlaws with the enabler. Takes a big hit right there from Nugget. Pack getting stretched out.
I mean, you gotta admire the dedication to just call it off while you're face planting.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe stop the call off for a second.
You can put your hands down, sir. You can save your nose. The enabler forced to recycle. Not a lot of purchase being found, however, by Thunderstruck, who is jamming for Puget Sound.
That was a star pass from Corporal Punishment to Thunderstruck. That allows Thunderstruck to complete the initial pass for Puget. Going to put them in scoring position. The enabler could have called off that jam. Thunderstruck is actually going to grab some points for Puget Sound and the Outcasts.
He's being held up by one blocker. Gets past him and just breaks past the pivot, but the enabler ends up outracing him as he got out of the the pack. So both jammers picking up 4 points on that pass.
Well, and that might have been the strategy used by the enabler of kill some clock, get some more time, weed it off, and grab as many points as he's going to grab. Thunderstruck looking for a call.
I think both jammers were looking for a blocking out of bounds as they were shoved into one another as they went out.
Nugget and the enabler getting tangled up, and the enabler looks like he's going to be going into the penalty box thanks to a low block call.
Oh goodness, we've got equipment all over the track. Somebody's lost somebody's lost their trucks. We've got nuts and bolts and knee pads flying. We said it was going to be physical.
and Hollywood actually got a little bit lucky. You know, he was making contact with the enabler after the enabler had skated off the track due to a penalty that could have been a call going against Hollywood. No call assessed. Total result in that jam was 13-6.
I gotta say, this is the first MRDA game that I have done broadcast or house, and this is probably going to be one of the toughest games for the officials and referees to oversee. With all of the goings on that we've had and the very physical play, it's going to be on them to call the penalties and try and keep everything in line.
Scott Slamilton spinning, pirouetting. I think he did a triple deke somewhere in there. Staying on the track, picks up lead jammer status for Puget.
Might have been the triple Lutz. I think I saw him flip his foot out at the very end.
I don't remember my figure skating move. Scott Slamilton clearly does, however. 100 in blue. Again, a nice little pirouette getting around the front wall, being held by Mr. Taco. 5-point grand slam.
And that's what Puget Sound needs. Scott Slamilton to try and fight his way through. He's going to need some help. He's been playing a little bit more finesse, trying to get low and find some spaces. And he's got some help. He's pushing his blockers, trying to get the defense out of the way. And he's forced to recycle this time by Uncle Jesse McNasty.
And again, a situation where the jammer maybe should have called it off a little bit earlier. End result is still going to benefit Puget. They grab another 3 on that scoring pass compared to only 2. But they could have kept Texas from getting any in that jam.
Yeah, you can kind of see the play from Puget Sound, and it's possible that they weren't quite prepared to be on this side of the score at this point in time. And so they're a bit out of sorts. But they play a pretty freewheeling style, I would honestly say, especially with Slamilton and Corporal Punishment. And I just think that they're not getting the holes that they're used to, especially their jammers trying to, if they play a power game, they're not creating the spaces that they're used to.
We've got an official timeout that's been called. Score is 57-88. Texas on top. 4 minutes, 21 seconds left in this first half of action. The official timeout brought to you by Notorious R.A.D. Notorious by Notorious R.A.D. Smell clean even if you play dirty. Get it here at Brouhaha at the Derby for All booth or order it online at notoriousred.com.
Looks like we're getting some good things here during this official review. Teams came together for a second on the track, and they're trying to talk each other down a bit. And that's definitely something that you want to have right now. Make sure that nothing gets too rough or anybody gets too heated out there, so you can keep the gameplay going competitive but still friendly.
We'll see if that official timeout was taken at the right time to help everyone allow cooler heads to prevail. We've got Lucky Charmer on the jam line going up against number 24-7, Hollywood.
Hollywood's been blocking and he's been a force. We're going to see if maybe he can use some of his power to generate offense. It's being shoved to the inside very, very hard by Uncle Jesse. Stays inbounds and keeps his ground. On the other side, Lucky Charmer being held back. And Thunderstruck going to be called off for a multiplayer block. Lucky Charmer had the lane outside. Hollywood was forced down on the ground on the inside. Lucky Charmer is lead jammer once again.
Yeah, Hollywood's pushing against the entire Texas defense. To his credit, they weren't moving him really well. The downside was that he wasn't moving very well himself either. That just allowed Lucky Charmer to snag lead jammer. Star pass over to Quadzilla. Lucky Charmer getting 4 points. Calling off the jam. Does not want to allow Quadzilla to get a head of steam going.
Anybody who knows roller derby knows what Quadzilla can do if he gets out in open space. The right time for the Outlaws to call the jam. They are still up by the score of 92-57, a 45-point lead.
Now, admittedly, it was a challenge about at Rollercom, but I actually literally saw Quadzilla do a forward flip, land on his wheels, and still get lead jammer status. So that's an example of what kind of talent that man has when he's on skates.
That actually happened? That happened for real?
Totally legit. Scott Slamilton and Dr. Feelgood, your jammers. I don't think Quadzilla's going to do a front flip in this game unless the score flips more in Puget's favor. And they're comfortable.
Right. Well, you can't just tell a story like that and then go back to calling the game. That's unbelievable. Now Scott Slamilton going to be called to the penalty box for cutting the track, which leaves Dr. Feelgood all by himself, and we're going to see more of that stutter step hesitation move here.
And Dr. Feelgood already being pointed at as lead. Being slowed down a little bit at the front by Jensen. Fights around at 5 points. A Rydell skates, a grand slam for Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood benefiting from a couple of power jams, went from having the fewest points as a Texas jammer to running neck and neck with Lucky Charmer for the most points on the team.
He started out fairly rough, as we said. That looked like he had created a couple of penalties for himself, but now he's benefited from these power jams. He's been able to get in open space, and he comes in just so slow, just like lulls the defender to sleep with the straight up stance, but he's like a coiled spring. He's ready to go as soon as the defense makes a move.
We're going to finish off this Sakatumi power jam with the enabler, number 151 in white. 100 blue returning to the track. Scott Slamilton immediately finding the Texas defense. Takes a hit from 00, just Matt. The enabler takes a solid hit from Dylan Botts.
That was a good look from Dylan Botts. He's a smaller player than the enabler, but he gave him enough of a shot that forced him off of his route and then was able to slow him up for about 10 to 15 seconds.
Botts using that lower center of gravity to get leverage on the enabler.
Scott Slamilton nearly made it out of the pack, but he was forced out of bounds and forced to recycle by just Matt. Now the pack stretches out. Slamilton got past, but then called for cutting the track once again. This will be his fourth trip to the penalty box.
And 3 of which have been as jammers, and they've all been track cuts as jammer.
That is very early. We're still in the first half, albeit with about 2.5 minutes to go. It's very early to get 4 penalties, and especially for one of your main jammers.
Meanwhile, the enabler does pick up lead. The jam rep gets a little bit tangled up on the floor, bounces back up. The enabler calling off the jam, I believe, 1 lonely point, but I'm not quite sure. We're going to wait for an indication. 0 points awarded. That's going to bring us to halftime between these two teams. Puget 57, Texas 102. And I'll be honest, it's a surprise that it's the spread is where it is. With these two teams being as closely ranked, I was expecting a very close game, but Texas, they've been coming on strong, really coming out of nowhere in the last year. But these skaters, they're looking to make their mark, and they've got their sights set on St. Louis and the men's championships later this season.
Well, give Texas a lot of credit. They've come in here ranked high, but still people might not believe them yet. They might think that, that even they've seen them play, but they're a young team, as I said, or a newer team. And it's still a bit upstarty, but Just Matt, G.I. Joel, Uncle Jesse McNasty have done a great job defensively on the Jammers for Puget Sound, and they've been able to keep them in the penalty box and from scoring, and that's enabled them to build this lead. Puget Sound had 24 points in the first 3 jams, and they scored 33 points the rest of the way.
Yeah, and we say it's a new team. It's a new team. None of these are new skaters. The Texas Outlaws were formed when Denton and Dallas joined forces, so these are experienced skaters that have just led to this Texas All-Star men's team that is now just flying up the ranks in MRDA.
And even with the experience, it speaks to their ability that they were able to come together and create that chemistry so quickly.
Exactly. Well, we're going to get some stats. We'll be back for the second half of action in just about 8 minutes.
Stick around.
Puget 57. Good action back and forth between the two teams. Looking at the stats, high score for the game overall. Lucky Charmer, 41 points. Dr. Feelgood, not that far behind with 40.
Lucky Charmer just under a 7 points per jam average right now. He's 41 points in 6 jams. Most importantly, no penalties. He has not seen the penalty box. On the other side, Scott Slamilton has 29 points for Puget Sound, and he is their high scorer, but he also has 4 penalties, 3 of those as a jammer, as you said, and I believe all 3 were cutting the track, and that's very difficult to sustain that. He's only got 3 more penalties before he fouls out.
Yeah, exactly. The second leading scorer for Puget is Corporal Punishment, sitting on 15. But you mentioned penalties. Scott Slamilton sitting with 4. Nugget also on 4. On the Texas side, we've got Uncle Jesse McNasty and Diamond both with 4. No one else has any more penalties than that, but the one that Puget specifically wants to watch out for is Scott Slamilton. He is one of their main jammers, and he's already on 4 penalties. They need to find a way to keep him out of the box so they can maintain his effectiveness on the track.
Puget needs to figure out a different defensive strategy, really get their defense working to create offense. That's what they were unable to do, and that is really why Scott Slamilton drew the few cutting the track penalties that he did.
And we're going to start the second half. That is number 8, Lucky Charmer. He is out, and the lone jammer, lead jammer as well. Scott Slamilton finishing off a previous penalty, now released from the penalty box.
Lucky Charmer goes into the pack, finding himself tangled up with Michael Jensen, moves back inside against Jensen once again. Slamilton really working against G.I. Joel, and he is forced out by the blockers from the Outlaws. Good defense from them, once again picking up where they left off.
And Lucky Charmer forced to retreat back, dodging officials on the infield. But again, he's already in scoring position. Scott Slamilton just trying to solve the riddle that is the Texas wall. It gets bumped once again to the outside.
Good blocking here by Puget Sound. They were able to hold Lucky Charmer back, but Scott Slamilton was unfortunately not able to get through the defense. Still unable to get through, and now Lucky Charmer is on a second scoring pass.
Scott Slamilton being slowed down by the tandem of G.I. Joel, Tip, Diamond, and Rydell. Lucky Charmer pushes the outside. He's facing Thunderstruck, Dylan Botts, Nugget, and Michael Jensen. That jam comes to an end. Another 3 points picked up by Lucky Charmer. Texas extending their lead now, 109 to 57, 28 and a half to go.
Now Dr. Feelgood, who came on very, very strong in the latter stages of the first period. Earlier on, he had 12 points in 6 jams. Now he is at 8 jams and 40 points. Going in hard on the inside once again, as is his one. And now Corporal Punishment flying around the outside. Really came out of nowhere, and that's a lead jammer for Puget Sound. First time in a while.
Yeah, it didn't seem like Puget, or correction, like Texas was aware that Corporal Punishment was out there, and he's already grabbed the grand slam. He's not being impeded at all by the defense of Texas. Knifes through again. That's 4 points on the pass, 9 points, and done very quickly. Calling off jam, making sure that no points are being picked up by Texas.
That was a big one. That was a big one for Puget Sound. Got their confidence back, and they really, really definitely needed that, especially against Dr. Feelgood, who had worked them over in the first period in the course of 2 jams.
Puget sending out a new jammer, first-time jammer. That is number 2468, Dylan Botts.
Botts looking for the outside. Has to work against G.I. Joel, and he's not going to find too much happiness there. Forced down to the ground. Stayed in bounds, however. Slides around and gains lead jammer. Nice job by Botts to stay in bounds and keep his toe stops inside the lines.
And G.I. Joel did pick up a forearm penalty. Could have been one of those smart penalties to take, but the enabler unable to get through. don't look now. Puget is coming storming back. Another 5 points. Right out skate grand slam picked up by Puget Sound. The enabler completing his initial pass. But Bout's going through, and Bout's clearly indicating a high hit. Another 2 points picked up by Bout. Calls off the jam, but no penalty being assessed.
Not exactly sure what was going on there. Obviously, Dylan Bout was upset as he got hit high. I noticed on the previous pass that he kind of gave up the upper half of his body, went in and sold out to go low, but kept his head and his upper body pointed towards the sky. Was able to absorb a hit on that pass and come through. But on the last one, he took a shot up high.
Well, a couple of quick jams and positive jams for Puget, 109-73, but Lucky Charmer trying to bring the momentum back to Texas. Scott Slamilton is out and completing his initial pass, but Lucky Charmer already in scoring position. Running into Quadzilla, staying on his wheels. Dancing around the apex, calling off the jam. 4 points for Texas. And they've scored 113-73, a 40-point gap, 25 minutes to go.
He comes back and gets some high fives from his teammates and his coach, and it was well deserved. For him to keep his skate in bounds after that shot from Quadzilla was very, very, very dedicated. That was a nice job of just staying on the track and keeping his balance. And he was able to grab those 4 points and stop the Puget Sound run. So Puget Sound creates the early no pack. Not quick enough for corporal punishment to get through unscathed as he is worked over by Kyle Divers.
But good back bridging by Nugget and Quadzilla, forcing Dr. Feelgood all the way back. But the back bridging not able to slow him down. Dr. Feelgood finds the inside seam, hops over a corner of the track, and he is lead jammer number 986 in white. Being a bit of a force after a slow start, but he's just started dominating when he's been on the track.
I tell you, if you give him space, he's like Goodnight Moon. He'll lull you to sleep, and then he'll get past you, and that's exactly what he did. He rode the inside line and just shot through gaps before the blockers could touch him.
And if you don't give him space, he'll be Goodnight Moon, as read by Samuel L. Jackson.
We won't say that one on the air, but
we will trust that you will Google it if you don't already know.
Amazon is out there, folks. You need to pick it up for the children, much like Wu-Tang used to be.
Dr. Feelgood staying on his wheels. 4 points for Texas.
I think he said dagger as he came through. A bit early to be calling that, but Dr. Feelgood is feeling especially confident, if I heard him correctly.
You know, maybe he just knew that he had a Right Out Skates Grand Slam in his pocket. Because so far 9, and he was looking to try and skate through untouched again. Ran into Quadzilla. Quadzilla trying to lure him into a track cut. Dr. Feelgood not falling for it this time. And then little inside-outside move. Another 5-point pass. 14 points. There's a lot of time left on the clock, but maybe that it wasn't being cocky. Maybe it was being confident. 127-73, just under 22:45 to go.
Confidence that is founded is called swagger, and he had it right there. And he'll have, his team will have a little bit more. The enabler going up against only 2 blockers for Puget Sound. The Outlaws are at full strength.
And Dylan Botts jamming for Puget. Like 2-4-6-8 blue being assessed a low block call. We mentioned he tends to skate coming in a little bit low, a little bit dangerous. That time netted him a low block penalty.
The enabler asking for a goat, and he will get it as Nugget is knocked to the inside of the tracks. Meanwhile, the enabler forced out.
Was by Hunter.
Action slows down on the far turn.
Rhino clearing an opening to allow the enabler to get through. Once again, Hunter standing in the way. Finally, the enabler gets around, completing a scoring pass. 5 more points in the air for Texas. And the dagger might not have been the points that were picked up by Dr. Feelgood. It might have been the stop momentum.
The enabler slowed up by Hunter for just a moment for regaining some forward momentum.
That's just enough time for Dylan Bout to get through the pack, completing his initial pass. 3 more points for Texas, however. An 8-0 jam, 135-73. 62 points separate these two teams, and Texas feeling it right now. They're definitely knowing that they've got this game where they want it, but they can't let up on the gas. They've got to maintain it, otherwise Puget's going to come storming back.
Oh, exactly. This is a very good team, obviously, Puget Sound. And they just barely got Michael Jensen on the track. Nope, they're telling him to leave the track. He did not get on the track in time, so both teams with 3 blockers. Lucky Charmer out first, and he is the lead jammer. Scott Slamilton finding it very difficult against Mr. Taco. Does make his way past Lucky Charmer. Has space, has daylight, and he is out for 4 points. He was looking for the signal to call, finally got it from the bench, and prevents Puget Sound from scoring any points. So a 4-0 jam for Texas. And they are up by 66 points, 139-73. Just under 20 minutes to go here in our contest. And folks, we hope you've enjoyed it. Thank Hinckley Design and Productions for producing and streaming our tournament here this weekend. Brouhaha, Midwest Brouhaha 2015, here at the UWM Panther Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Dr. Feelgood back on the jam line, as is Thunderstruck. Thunderstruck not jamming too often, but that's a legal procedure penalty. That's just going to make another opportunity for Dr. Feelgood on the power jam, the Socket to Me power jam.
Dr. Feelgood asking for some help, gets it, stayed in bounds. Nice job once again. He was able to ride that hit and stay in bounds. No pass, no penalty called, so he only does get 2 points. But he's coming around on another pass, and he is the lone jammer on the floor. This time able to get through the all right way, and that is a Rydell Skates grand slam for Dr. Feelgood. He and Lucky Charmer are going to compete for high scoring honors if this game keeps up the way it has. While Thunderstruck comes barreling back onto the track, Dr. Feelgood had to recycle, was knocked to the ground, and calls off the jam right there. But he does get, looks like he had 5 points on the last jam.
A little clarification being passed from the jam ref to the score table. Looks like a total of 16. Nope, correction. 8. Score is 147-73, just under 18 minutes to go.
We're going to see Rod jamming for the first time for Puget Sound, the Outcasts. The enabler, familiar face on for the Outlaws. Being knocked around a bit, Scott Slamilton gives him a nice flank hit. Quadzilla going to be sent to the penalty box, and Rod still having a tough time of it against who else but Mr. Taco.
The enabler picking up lead jammer once again for Texas. They're currently on a 6-jam run, just stifling Puget's opportunities and just extending the lead. You know, again, we talked about the swagger of Dr. Feelgood when he said dagger. He may very well have been right, because things have not looked good for Puget since that jam. Misconduct penalty being assessed. That's going to make this a power jam for Ryrod. And it'll be a full 2-minute jam.
Tough one there on the enabler. He hopped over a skater and contacted his helmet. Couldn't see if he said anything to the referee after that, but the misconduct penalty was given. An opportunity for Puget Sound to try and get back on the run that they had established earlier in this half.
That making contact with the down skater, that's an immediate misconduct.
Ryrod's going to be forced to recycle, and now he has to deal with a couple of tough customers in TIP and Diamond.
And the Texas penalty kill really stifled Ryrod. As we see that Enabler's already back on the track. Ryrod hasn't put any points on the board as of yet. Star has been passed. Quadzilla's got in his hands. It's going to lead to the jam coming to its conclusion, and Quadzilla's being assessed a track cut call. There's 5 points picked up by Texas.
He's still got his hands out. He's wondering exactly where that was. And he's going to desultorily make his way to the penalty box as he gets the explanation from referee Adam, number 89. And it looks like actually
and an official timeout being asked for. This actually allows for some clarifications, and if Quadzilla actually was in fact assessed a track cut penalty. If so, he would have to go into the penalty box, and he would have to go in as the jammer. He was the inactive jammer, but he had the star in his hand, so he would have to serve the time as the jammer, which would allow Texas, and specifically Lucky Charmer, that opportunity to really just dive through and add more to his points total.
They're trying to salt this game away right now. We're 15:49. We're at 15:49 left in the second half of our game.
Texas almost doubling up on Puget. This official timeout brought to you by Derby Laces. Try the new Spark metallic skate laces by Derby Laces. Super strong and super shiny. Get yours at derbylaces.com.
Also want to thank Bruce Skate Nooses, the original over-the-shoulder roller skate holder. We have over 50 colors and patterns to fit your team, your league, or your personality. And if that isn't enough, contact us for more customization options. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or online at bruisedsm.com.
And this is the first time we've said this all weekend. This is one of our featured bouts. There's going to be MVP awards given at the end of this game. I want to thank Witch on Wheels for providing those. Witch on Wheels is debuting on a regional level for the first time at Brouhaha 2015. Just launching their online store at witchonwheels.us. Keep checking often as they continue to grow their line of nice accessories.
I wasn't ready for it. We'll definitely check out that and all the rest of our sponsors that we will be informing you about as our game progresses. Looks like we're back to action. We'll get some clarification on that official review if we can, but the jammer is on the track for Puget Sound, so it is safe to assume that Quadzilla was not assessed the track cutting penalty on the last jam.
Okay, your jammers are Lucky Charmer and Dylan Botts. Lucky Charmer is pointed at 8 in white once again, grabbing lead status. Nice job by Lucky Charmer. He was forced out of bounds, but the blocker that contacted him also went out of bounds, so he was allowed to continue on his path. Meanwhile, Dylan Botts on a scoring pass, barrels into the pack. Very, very courageous individual. Smaller player going into these much larger players without fear. And Lucky Charmer grabbing another 4-point scoring pass, 8 so far. Every time that Lucky Charmer has taken the notorious RED jammer line, he has been declared lead. He's had his jam ref pointing at him. And as we mentioned at halftime, he's done it the entire time without even coming near to heading towards the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino penalty box. He is skating a clean game, skating a strong game, and it's a very impressive performance. One has to wonder what he has in that unmarked gallon jug. If it's water, or if it's the secret stuff. Is that too old? It is clearly GMO water. Can't trust it. And a big hit from Scott Slamilton, who you also cannot trust. And he forces Dr. Feelgood to call off the jammers. We had a foot race coming into the second term. Dr. Feelgood going to give some gap. Dr.
that
Feelgood
hit.
is applauding Scott Slamilton for that hit. He knows it was a good hit, good clean hit, and smart play by Scott Slamilton. Slamilton back on the jam line. He gives a thumbs up to Feelgood. Feelgood says, "Yep, you hit me like that. I'm going to take it and I'm going to appreciate it. I'm going to give you some props.
And I'm fine.
But watch your back because the next time I'm out there." You got Slamilton back out, and he's jamming against the enabler this time.
Trying to find the outside. Is this his prerogative? Had it for a second, but Texas was able to recycle. Still looking for the outside as they round the far turn. Meanwhile, the enabler working only against Quadzilla, who is slowing him up and knocks him out of bounds. A nice play, solo blocking. Really good defense there by Quadzilla.
And the enabler actually took a little bit of a pause on his way out of bounds before trying to come back in. Thought maybe that Quadzilla would step out. Scott Slamilton, however, blocking with the head. That low approach that we've seen a couple of these Puget skaters use, backfiring once again. That's going to put the enabler on a power jam. He is lead jammer. And 151 in white being pushed by 56 in blue. Michael Jensen. Michael Jensen, direction of play penalty.
And so that's going to do the jam right there. Looks like the enabler called that one off. Did get 4 points on that final pass. And then once again, it will be a power jam for the Texas Outlaws. They've been able to impose their will in the second half. Save for that run by the Outcasts, they've really been able to force the issue with their style of play.
And now they have literally doubled up on Puget. 164 to 82, just over 12 to go. Lucky Charmer, who's been so strong and so effective all game long, is the Texas Jammer. Quadzilla, I'm not sure how Quadzilla stayed on the track. He was off balance. He'd been tossed around, but somehow that man kept his wheels magnetized to the track. Please don't check if there's actual magnets in his wheels in the track, because I don't want to be proven wrong yet again.
Scott Slamilton going to come out of the box. Quadzilla shook his head as he came back to recycle Lucky Charmer, but he was able to make his way through the pack, and he did score as well. He picked up points, and it looks like he grabbed another grand slam, so kid's having himself a game. He probably is older than me, but the kid's having himself a game. He's registered 69 points on 11 jams, no penalties. What more can you ask from one of your primary jammers? Not too much.
And Lucky Charmer, once Scott Slamilton had come through, he decided he was going to take a leisurely Sunday skate here on Friday evening.
Oh, it's 2 days early.
Let some more clock evaporate, then call off the jam just before Scott got through. Meanwhile, Dr. Feelgood just bowls his way past Hunter. Lead jammer once again wearing a white jersey. Blue not getting a lot of sniffs at controlling the clock.
And the pack is very spread out, and as we've seen, that really helps Dr. Feelgood out. When he's given space, he knows what to do with it. And he registers 3 points on that time through. I know most of you kids out there are too young to remember Stretch Armstrong, but he seems to just be able to elongate himself and get through these spaces all without being touched. He's been hit, but usually when he's hit, he knows the hit's coming. He takes it, he floats out of bounds, and he calls it if he needs to. He's not taking that much of a beating.
Everyone remembers Stretch Armstrong. We've got car commercials now. Oh, Quadzilla and the enabler jammers. And a good block by Thunderstruck, knocking the enabler to the outside, or to the inside, off the track. And then enabler recycling, bouncing back, gets lead jammer status, dodging a big hit from Michael Jensen.
Couldn't tell if he was waiting for Jensen to come back on the track or if he was just regaining his balance. Either way, that's lead jammer to the enabler. Quadzilla in hot pursuit, kind of trying to pick his spot. Puget sound blockers slow things up.
Jam called off, the enabler not getting any, but Quadzilla not getting any either. It's going to put the score 82 to 173, 9 minutes to go.
There was a compromise on that last one, and no one came away happy. That's a wash. Texas still with the advantage. They're up 91 points on Puget Sound. Under 10 minutes to go here, ticking down to about 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Everyone goes down early on as Hollywood back jamming once again. See if Puget Sound can capitalize with a power play. Lucky Charmer was forced down and out, and he's going to be sent to the penalty box for cutting the track. Looks like he went back in bounds. And Hollywood is lead jammer for Puget Sound. First time once again in a while for the boys in blue. Going to call a play as they are on the Sock It To Me Power Jam. Hollywood going to go in hard. He's knocked down pretty hard, and he's going to be a bit slow to get up.
That's the first time in 14 jams, if my math is correct. My unofficial stats are correct. First time in 14 jams that Puget has had lead.
And unfortunately, well, they were able to capitalize actually on that last go around. They did get 11 points. So a nice job by Hollywood to take advantage of that power jam, and they called off the jam. And they're going to have Dylan Bots out there. Oh, sorry, that's Michael Jensen on the notorious RED jam line, as Puget Sound is still on the power play. Jensen with a little juke move to the outside. Almost got around Diamond. And he did. He stayed in bounds. He took the hit, got back up, stayed in bounds, and he is lead jammer to Puget Sound. He's still shaking it off a bit, though.
He absorbed what was basically a Keith Ballard-esque hip check and somehow got back down on the track.
I like that you said that, and I'm going to go with it that I know who Keith Ballard is, because for all intents and purposes I do, but we'll talk later. Meanwhile, Michael Jensen out front, knocked out by TIP, and he calls off the jam with 4 points in the bag. So Puget once again on a bit of a run. 15 points over the last 2 jams. 6.5 to go. Texas up 173 to 88.
We're going to set up another jam from the notorious RED jammer line. As 24/7 Hollywood in blue going up against white 986 Dr. Feelgood. And Dr. Feelgood just against Dylan Bots. Very clear high block being delivered by Dr. Feelgood. That's going to send him into the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino penalty box.
Puget Sound, from the moment, had done what I would have thought would be the impossible. They had goated the giant figure of Uncle Jesse McNasty, but Hollywood was forced to recycle, and now he passes the star off to Rod, and he is called for skating out of bounds, so he will be sent to the penalty box. And now Dr. Feelgood, there goes that man on a power jam.
That blocking out of bounds penalty, it's one of those things you have to be very careful of. And Ryrod just stepping afoul of the law. And looks like we've got, it's going to be a full 2-minute jam. Dr. Feelgood in scoring position and colliding once again with Dylan Bots. Another high block. Dr. Feelgood, he may not be realizing exactly how low Dylan Bots is getting, but he is just drilling Bots in the face on his last couple of passes.
Ryrod knocked out of bounds, but his blockers went with him. So he comes out of the box. He is the lone jammer on the track for the Sock It To Me Power Jam for Puget Sound. 3 blockers on for Texas. 2 defenders on the track for Puget Sound, and Ryrod with a nice move.
Ryrod forcing Rhino to get tangled up in his own skates. Ryrod did complete getting 5 points on a pass. There was 2 additional points awarded, so a total of 7. 4 on the other side for Dr. Feelgood.
77 and 95. Hey, let's give Puget Sound some love. Help them up over that century mark.
So we got 95 to 177, 4 minutes left, and an official review being asked for. Chance for Puget Sound to try and challenge a little bit of something that's happened. This official review brought to you by ATI Physical Therapy. When injury strikes, you have a choice. Choose ATI Physical Therapy, the official sports medicine provider for your Brew City Bruisers. To experience the ATI difference, visit ATIPT.com or stop into one of their over 19 Milwaukee area clinics for a complimentary injury screening. Ask your doctor about the company that is taking physical therapy to a higher level. ATI Physical Therapy. Get there.
Also want to thank Derby Laces, the sponsor for both of our tracks this weekend. Say goodbye to untied skate laces. Derby Laces stay tied tight and where you want them. Get yours at derbylaces.com. Try the new Spark metallic skate laces. Super strong and super shiny. Derby Laces are also available in 25 different colors. Derby Laces tie you up, but never tie you down. The sponsor for both of our tracks this weekend. Get yours at derbylaces.com.
We got just under 4 minutes to go. We were seeing in the first half, it was a little bit of a surprise in the result that Texas had opened up as much of a lead as they did. The second half, however, Puget just hasn't found their game. Texas has been taking it to them, and they've gotten lead jam over and over and over again, just stifling Puget. And the couple times that Puget started to get some momentum going back in their favor, they've gotten shut down. I actually received a mention on Twitter that I should have more Mighty Ducks references, and clearly Puget has forgotten that ducks fly together.
Oh, no. Don't hurt him like that. Well, we are back to action. The enabler taking a hard hit there as he is jamming for the Outlaws. And Scott Slamilton going to be called to the penalty box for a track cut once again. That is his 6th penalty.
6 penalty, 5 jammer penalties, 4 track cuts. Scott Slamilton, it hasn't been his game and it hasn't been Puget's game, possibly because he's had such a difficult time with just how the game's been going. He hasn't been able to stay on the track. The enabler picking up lead jammer there. And Texas just going to extend that lead. They're looking to get back up to that doubled up point that they had before. There's still enough time for them to do it.
They're chasing the double century. The enabler pushed out by Sweet Pea. Takes a look at the defense and calls off the jam. No points awarded to Texas. So that's a wash for both sides. And the jammer has been released for Puget Sound. So effectively they killed the penalty right there. Good job of blocking by Sweet Pea. No, definitely Puget Sound has just not been able to get into a rhythm. Teams want to be able to do what they want and pretty much make it simple. Do one thing or two things over and over again. They haven't been able to do that.
By the same token, on the flip side, Texas is proving that they are here, they're legitimate, and they are ready and hungry to challenge for the MRDA championships coming up later this year. This weekend's a good feeling out to get used to that style of play and see some of these teams that you're going to see again. You know, Texas is going to be facing the St. Louis Gatekeepers later this weekend. And if they can play the way they did today, they might be able to give the Gatekeepers a good run for their money and look to take down the number 2 team. The only loss they've had on this season was against the Gatekeepers earlier.
It's a litmus test and a good one for them. So it looks like Rod has gotten the star from the previous jammer. Meanwhile, Lucky Charmer is working his way through. Here's Johnny was really fighting against Rhino. Both those blockers got locked up, and Texas does pick up 3 points there. Lucky Charmer adding on to his point total for this game. He did get 1 penalty, so no longer on the clean sheet, but still the high scorer right now for the Texas Outlaws. Dr. Feelgood has something to say about that, though. He is sitting on 70 points, and he is on the jam line. Once again against Michael Jensen, who was hit hard by Mr. Taco. And Dr. Feelgood finds the inside line. He's yelling something to his bench. Cap once again passed, this time to Quadzilla, who was the pivot. Dr. Feelgood made 1 spin and then almost 2 And he's talking to the opposing bench. He's getting a lot of love, so to speak, from the bench coach for Puget Sound.
Bring the score now 95 to 182. Timeout being called.
And he's going to be called for cutting the track. And it looks like the referee came off and they told him to come out to the penalty box.
That's going to allow Puget to start out in a power jam. And at this point, it's just minimizing the damage. There's no feasible way unless everyone skates backwards with the jammer skating forwards. And I can't imagine that Texas would agree to that.
Maybe we can have some synthesis after we've had so much discord in this game. Maybe it's the time where we can all get along.
We'll get along by skating the wrong way around. But we've got Thunderstruck taking the jam line for Puget in what's most likely the final jam of the contest between Texas and Puget here at Midwest Brouhaha.
Thunderstruck gets a little help from Michael Jensen, who sits on Uncle Jesse McNasty. Oh, he found Purchase on the outside for just a second, and he's locked up by G.I. Joel.
And Thunderstruck also running into Rhino. He's just not having a lot of luck. The penalty kill by Texas. I mean, Thunderstruck got through the pack, but as he was clearing the pack on his initial pass, Dr. Feelgood was escaping from the penalty box. And don't look now, but Thunderstruck in the middle of the scoring pass getting knocked to the infield. Dr. Feelgood already around and back in scoring position, looking to snag some extra points. And Dr. Feelgood dancing the inside line.
And he is definitely fired up. He is talking every time he gets through the pack, and he is gesticulating with emphasis on that last pass. He's going to come off. He's going to have a few more words. His bench is going to come up and give him mad dap, as we would say back in Chicago, and that is going to be the game. Woo! This is a fiery one.
It's an unofficial final score right now. The score we're looking at 98 to 186. Either way, what we do know is that Texas coming in ranked number 6 in the MRDA. Puget ranked number 4 in the MRDA. And Texas took down the Puget Sound Outcasts 186 to 98. Big victory for Texas.
I don't know what else to say. Texas imposed their will. Puget Sound got the early run. It was 24-8, and they were able to weather that storm early and then take over when it counted. And they, other than a couple Puget runs, they never really relinquished control of the game. Dr. Feelgood did manage to actually get high-scoring honors in this game. 76 points on 15 jams. Did get 5 penalties. Lucky Charmer really, though, was the key for the Texas Outlaws, I believe. 72 points on 14 jams. He was out there a lot. Only had one time in the penalty box, and that 30 seconds did not take away from his performance in this bout, which was
the only time.
Just sort of magnificent.
Well, and the only time that Lucky Charmer didn't get declared lead was the one time he went to the penalty box. He picked up a track cut. Otherwise, every other time he was out there, he was lead jammer. That's just that effective play that he had. He was solid. He was consistent all game long. 72-14. That's about 6 points per jam. But the consistency was the most important thing. Is he wasn't giving up points. He was just consistently plinking away, grabbing a few here, grabbing a few there, and I mean, even if you take him away though, Texas they had an answer for everything that Puget threw at them.
Exactly. On the other side, Scott Slamilton, 29 points and 17 jams. Not the average that he really wanted. And he had 6 penalties. And I think that's really what hurt Puget. He was obviously one of their key jammers, and he never really got going except for a couple jams early.
Yeah. And if you look back at the early going, I mean, the early going, the first couple of jams, Puget was jumping out and looked like they were going to start running away with it. And then Texas made a couple adjustments, turned the game in their favor, and you see the result. 186 to 98, Texas taking down Puget. Good game between the two teams. Disappointing for Puget, though, and they're going to have to reset themselves. They've got, as we mentioned, they got the Gatekeepers coming up later this weekend, and they're also facing the Twin Cities Terrors. So kind of refocus, get back on the horse, and figure out what went wrong this game. What are they going to solve for next game?
Well, that's all from here on track number 1, Derby Racers, track number 1 here at Midwest Brouhaha 2015. Once again, Texas Outlaws over the Puget Sound Outcasts by the score of 186-98. I'm Jumping Spider.
I'm Wilhelm Scream. Stick around. We've got more Derby action coming up right here from Midwest Brouhaha 2015.